live and in person. And on the Twitch, we got it, Carter. We made it happen. Twitch.tv/DallasFanCam is where you can see the lovely face of Jon Machota of The Athletic. Let's talk some Cowboys, baby. Jon, you're here, and you're not even here because of us. You're here because you are a card freak just like the KNC Masterpiece.
I am, yeah. I mean, I don't, tweet about it and post too much about it, but, yeah, I usually make it out here. I'm originally from Detroit, and they had card shows when I was a kid growing up, and, there'd be, maybe 100 tables or something like that, nothing like this. And then, I don't know, I kind of fell out of it, in high school and in college, and even when I moved down here. And then within the last few years, the industry's picked back up, and I have, a bunch of old stuff, and I was like, maybe I'll make my way over there. And I was stunned at just how many tables are here. Other than the national show that they do, which for me kind of sucks because the national show every single year falls when we're in training camp and we're in California. So it's usually in Chicago. This year it's in Atlantic City. And so, but outside of that, this is the best card show you can come to in the country. Most of the people that are big into cards, like social media-wise and things like that, they're all here. They all come out to this show. That's why it started out, it was I think twice a year. And then now it's every couple months they do it, and it's just an amazing turnout.
Jon, it's funny. We just did a segment about things you do alone.
Yeah.
And you're the ultimate do things alone by yourself guy.
Absolutely.
Okay, and it's funny because you've done some amazing things in your life. You're a Duke fan, basketball.
Right.
You're a Florida State fan. Diehard.
Yep.
There's nothing you can get by you when it comes to those two schools.
Yeah.
You're not afraid to go and watch one of those teams play by yourself, are you?
It's funny that you're asking me this, right, or bringing this up right now, because literally 6 hours ago I bought a ticket. I'm meeting up a friend there, but we're going to that Florida State LSU game to start open the season at the Superdome. But, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of, the way my life is since I moved down here, I just kind of do whatever I want. So if there's a big sporting event or something like that, I usually, anytime the Warriors are in town or stuff like that, or I don't know. I usually try and go to.
What's your radius? How close does it have to be for you just to say, I'm buying a ticket right now and going?
Obviously, if it's within driving distance and everything, so that's pretty much most of the state of Texas. I remember when Duke was in the Elite Eight down in Houston in 2015, driving down there that day, going to the game, and then coming back up later on that day.
Strength. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I did it for LSU's national championship game.
Yeah.
You'll do it because you don't know if you'll ever do it again, right?
Right.
But is it just easier traveling by yourself that way?
Well, it is, and then you know that you'll always be able to go. And a lot of times I'll meet up somebody that is going to go there, like a friend that's from the other, live in another part of the country, but. I went to the Duke, North Carolina Final Four game this year down in New Orleans. I drove that, and I couldn't get out of there fast enough because Duke obviously lost North Carolina, and I was so disappointed. So that was another feats of strength, driving back the next day. And that's the toughest loss I've ever been a part of. Now, the best win by far, now, obviously it's weird that I like Duke basketball and Florida State football, but best win by far, not even close, 2013 National Championship game when Florida State beat Auburn at the Rose Bowl. I know a lot of Cowboys fans listening, if you went to that Cowboys Super Bowl when they were in the Rose Bowl, because the people I know that are Cowboys fans that went to that one, they say nothing compares to that.
Right.
And I can tell you, from going to that 2013 national title game, there is no environment like the Rose Bowl.
The Rose Bowl's the best.
Amazing.
You're right about that,
Amazing.
Oh, yeah, that's bucket list sports material right there. Jon Machota of The Athletic hanging out with us here in the GBag Nation, live from the Dallas Card Show at the Marriott Dallas Allen Hotel and Convention Center. So, do you have your most prized possession at home of the card genre? Or is it boxed up in a safe somewhere that no one is privy to see it, or what's the deal?
No. I don't have anything crazy. There's a lot of stuff in here, 15, 20 grand, stuff like that. I have probably my favorite card is I have a 1956 Jackie Robinson. That when the card market was down, it's graded. It's a 5, which is pretty good for that time. And I got it for $300 because the market was down, and it's definitely a over $1,000 card now. But
nice.
I don't have anything. I won't go out and I would always wanted to get a Michael Jordan rookie card. I'm kind of waiting for the market to come down a little bit more, because when I was a kid, man, I remember going to shows and the card was $100, and I remember thinking that's so much money. That's so much money. And now it's I wish I would have bought all of them.
Okay, well let's. The prize possession is your Jackie Robinson card. What's the prize possession going to be for the Dallas Cowboys this year? And we're I hate to say this, we're doom and gloom guys sometimes. The Cowboy fans hate us because we're not always positive enough about, and you're trying to find some things. What is something that you're going to focus on? I mean, we're all talking about guards and wide receivers and stuff like. Is there something different that you're taking a bite of?
Okay, I'm not super positive about this season, but if you want to be super positive, the three things that I point to are, one, I know everyone likes to roll their eyes about the whole best shape of my life, and that Dak Prescott is absolutely in the best shape of his life. I mean, there's just no question. I was scrolling through some old Instagram pictures that I had. And most of my Instagram is Cowboys-related stuff. And I saw.
By the way, the best guy to follow at training camp, him and David Hellman are always in the best spots for those little video moments that you like. Someone talks about, hey, you should have seen this catch. Likely John or David Hellman has got the one-handed catch with toes down.
Okay,
so
well then I know who I'm going to be
show.
shadowing you the whole time.
John is always at training camp in the right position to see.
I'll be in your hip pocket.
I appreciate that. But no, I was looking at some of these old pictures, and like even Dak, like back in 2016, 2017, I was at something he was doing for Tostitos. Yeah. And you look at him now, I mean, he is like really leaned out, and that's been a progression. That's the thing about the athlete nowadays is it's about being lean. Obviously, if you're Chet Holmgren, you're going to have to put on some weight. But if you're Dak Prescott, it's about being lean and flexible, and that's kind of a lot of what Tom Brady's doing. So there's no question Dak's in the best shape. I really think Ezekiel Elliott is heading in that direction too. That's obviously something to be excited about. And really the biggest thing is that I think expectations are going to be pretty low going into this season because of players they've lost in the offseason, because of the way last season ended. And when you think about it, the best Cowboys teams recently have been the ones when there's low expectations. That's 2014, 2016. Both of those seasons going in, you did not think that they were going to win double-digit games. You did not think that they were going to win playoff games. You did not think 14 was going to come down to a Dez catch in Green Bay. And those ended up being some of their best seasons because with the Cowboys, it seems like when the expectations are the highest, that's when they disappoint. And so I think people are pretty – I mean, aside from them making some big deal and some big trade, which I don't know, I just don't expect them to do that. But aside from that, I think people know what this team is.
Could it be the wide receiver, though? I mean, I think the one thing, could they get at training camp and see that the wide receiver group, maybe with Gallup, hopefully they keep him all pup. But that seems like the one position that maybe that Jerry and Steven and Will might push some chips to the middle of the table to go get.
That one would make a lot of sense to me just because – Gallup isn't going to be ready to start the season.
Right.
Tolbert, I think, is going to be – I feel the same way. I don't know about you, but I feel the same way about Tolbert as I do about Tyler Smith, where it's like I think they're going to be good players, but this Cowboys team is expecting a lot of them immediately.
Yeah,
and that's,
right.
And that's where it can be a problem is that you're putting so much on these young guys to be – it's like you need to step in right now, and you need to be how Zach Martin was right away. And that's asking a lot. I mean, you're talking about probably a future Hall of Famer. And so the wide receiver – and then the other thing that – I thought was maybe the most disappointing thing from OTAs and minicamp is just you went in hoping to see some Tolbert and James Washington work together, and you just didn't get to see a lot of that. I mean, Washington was in that walking boot. You're hoping that he's going to be ready to go for the start of training camp because you need a lot from those two guys. You know what you have in CeeDee Lamb. You know what you have in Dalton Schultz, but you need a lot of a major contribution early on against Cincinnati, against Tampa, good teams, from Tolbert and Washington because you're probably not going to have Gallup early.
Jon Machota of The Athletic live with us here at the Dallas Card Show here in the GBag Nation talking Cowboys. Is it the rookies that's the biggest storyline for you heading into camp, or what's the biggest storyline you're kind of looking at?
Offensive line. So, I mean, rookie, obviously, Tyler Smith is a big part of that.
Yep.
But, since I've covered the team, well, I shouldn't say it because when I got here, I started covering the team in 2011, and that's right when they kind of Jason Garrett wanted to make he was trying to turn over the offensive line. And so my first draft I covered was Tyron Smith. And then, right after that it was Frederick and then Zach Martin. So boom, boom, boom. They just turned that offensive line around. And I kind of feel like they're there right now where they're trying to do that. But there's just a lot of questions about Biotish. Even Terrence Steele, Tyler Smith. I mean, can Tyron Smith stay healthy? I've been used to the last 5 or 6 years being like, well, what you got the offensive line. You don't even need to worry about that. To where now it's like, no. I mean, here's the other thing. Like, you can only judge so much off OTAs and minicamp.
Yeah. Right.
Now when the pads come on, for both sides. I mean, Sam Williams, the defensive line, I want to see them too with the pads on. But really, Tyler Smith with the pads on, it's going to tell us a lot pretty early on.
Are you buying the hype of that we're all selling with Dan Quinn?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I think, he's for real. I mean, he's, again, like he belongs in that list too of things that you should be most optimistic about. I think that they did a lot last year that should get you even more excited, but I don't think that they reached their peak. And, bringing back J-Ron Kearse, I think it was a big move just because of the way he fits.
Why does the league hate J-Ron Kearse?
Yeah, what's the deal? Is it just because he had one great year and that's it?
It's kind of one of those things where I just feel like it's kind of about where the position you're at. And so maybe if he's with the Arizona Cardinals, maybe they're not using him the same way that the Dallas Cowboys are, And I think that the place where you land obviously helps a lot, and I just think he's in the best possible position to play a safety kind of linebacker hybrid role that maybe other coaches didn't see that from, that he could do that at that type of a level. And I just think he keeps getting better, and I don't think that he's a finished product. So there's just a lot of guys in that defense that you feel like, hey, I can see them continuing to take another step to where that maybe that defense is actual strength of the team, which, again, since I've covered the team, really hasn't been the deal at all.
Okay, now, speaking of coaches putting somebody in position to make plays, Dan Quinn, we're now talking about Kellen Moore and the pressure on him and Mike McCarthy, and especially with C.D. Lamb. Is that justified, or are we overblowing that right now?
No, I think there's a lot of question marks there. I mean, where I get into what bothers me is when you'll be on social media, you hear people talking about, like, they'll bash Kellen Moore and say, like, he's not as good of an offense coordinator or whatever. That's fine, but he's still one of the better play callers in the game. It just they have to do it when it matters most. That back half of the season obviously wasn't great. The playoffs, obviously, that game wasn't great. Obviously, the offensive line is going to have a lot to do with what kind of plays he can run. But for me personally, the thing that I want to see the most, because I know he's going to move CD around. I know they're going to move Tolbert around. They're going to move Washington around. For me, it comes down to how he uses Tony Pollard. I mean, now's the time. Training wheels come off.
Don't hold your breath on that one.
I know, I'm not. But
every year we could talk about Tony Pollard usage,
right?
And we can then we get by week 5, we're like, it's not going to happen,
right? And it's not about, when I say that, it's not about let's take away carries from Zeke. If Zeke's running well, Zeke's going to get the ball. But I'm saying using them both together. I'm saying seeing more where Tolbert goes out and lines up in the slot, where it just things that are just different than we've seen in the past. We've seen it at times, but not at the volume and without them having Amari Cooper, without them having Cedric Wilson, without them having made another move at wide receiver, it makes me think like, all right, here's your chance to move. And not even really just that too. The other tight end spot, the number 2 tight end spot, they were hoping it'd be Schultz and Jarwin for 4 or 5 years, and that plan quickly had to change. So it just seems like there's so much opportunity to utilize Tony Pollard, who he has the ability to have a big year. Are we going to see that or not? And it's one of those things with me. They can run in training camp, but I want to see it in games.
Date of your first story about Sean Payton being the coach of the Cowboys.
Man, I'm trying to stay away from that.
Is that wearing you out now?
It is. It is from the standpoint of,
because you will voice your hate for stuff. I've been with you. When we stood there and you say, "Why do you keep talking about that, Broadus?"
My whole thing about the Sean Payton deal is, okay, so if they go in that direction, there's no guarantee that's the thing that gets it over the top. I mean, let's not act like these last 5-6 years in New Orleans that it was just Super Bowl after Super Bowl. So, and then the other part of it is, like, from the people I've talked to that have covered the Saints, and then even you'll see it in reports, like, he wants a lot of say in personnel. Is he really going to get that say as long as Jerry Jones is around? Well,
see, that's the thing about it is, I mean, if the offense fails badly, then, you look at Sean Payton and you go, he wins games with quarterbacks nobody else wants to win games with. That's the thing. That if I'm Jerry Jones, that's where I look at. If I know that Dan Quinn's got my defense fixed,
right,
I need to have my $40 million man on the right go.
But what if? I see Sean coming in and wanting to do his whole entire thing, have his whole entire coaching staff. The other part of it too is,
I bet he takes Dan Quinn.
Okay, well,
I bet you the concession is, and I don't know. I know Sean. I bet you the concession is, you can take the job, but you got to keep Dan Quinn and these guys.
That's possible. The other thing, though, that's interesting about if they were to go that direction is, we all know, and I listen to you guys, and you guys talk about it a lot, like about how little is done in the offseason by moves they're making. And so the only way that they really add significant, I shouldn't say only, 90% of the way is through the draft. And to get Sean Payton, you're going to have to trade draft picks to the Saints, and this team cannot afford to trade draft picks. So that part will be interesting, too.
That's a good point.
No, they might for that head coach.
That's true. But, I mean, they did for Amari Cooper, and that worked out. It's one of those things where I don't know.
What you're saying is we're all going to hate it covering the Cowboys because Sean Payton's going to lock this thing down.
Well, there's a part of that to it, but it's also I'm at the point where it's like I want to cover a team that gets to a Super Bowl, that wins a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I want to cover a Cowboys team that's like the 90s Cowboys were when I was a kid growing up, and it was just like the biggest deal, like everything Cowboys, in Detroit. It was just Cowboys, everything on TV all the time. I want to cover a Cowboys team like that, and so whatever it takes for them to get to that level, I'm fine with, because I want to cover. And then, you know what? It's another thing is, like, I talk about this to some of the guys in the press box. There's guys that have been covering this team a lot longer than I have.
Oh yeah.
And they'll talk about and they'll talk about how few like playoff games, stuff like that. And I kind of want it for them too, like to cover like how fun it would be for them to
you
actually
want it
get
for
to
Jon Machota, who travels alone to go watch Duke play basketball.
That's
Cameron Indoor.
now, okay, that's number one. But there can be other things. There can be other parts
right.
of it. And, I mean, I'm not even talking about 90s dynasty. I'm talking about like a 2017 Eagles run where it's like 1 year, just one outlier year.
That's all we need.
I mean, I was sitting there, I wrote this thing the other day, and 2010 is not that long ago. Since 2010, 13 teams in the NFC have been in the NFC Championship game. Only 3 teams have not, and the Cowboys are one of them.
Before we let you go, I want to thank you for all the content you've given us for June, because every time we do a story, it's one of your lists or something that we need to talk about. So keep doing all the great work you do.
Amen.
I appreciate it. And to be honest with you, I like doing this even more than I like writing. So when I write, I feel like
you're good at this.
Well, I try and write like how, like for you guys, like you talk about filling like something that you can use for a segment.
Yeah.
Like a lot of stuff I do, especially in the off season, is like stuff where I'd be like, well, if I was doing radio, this seems like this could be a talk or like for a segment.
You got it down.
You're a beast, Jon Machota of The Athletic, ladies and gentlemen. Looking forward to seeing you out there in Oxnard.
Yeah,
any Jerry Media Party pro tips that I need to know? It's gonna be my first rodeo.
Just
hydrate before.
That and just don't be the drunkest person there. Okay. Hey, you can be second, but you don't want to be number one, because then that's what people talk about the next day.
That's right. No, that's going to be Walchuk. Walchuk will be the drunkest. I'll be second right there.